And welcome everybody to the PCS Like a Pro show. I'm your host, Megan Harless, as always, and I'm really excited about the show that we have for you today. If you've been around the last couple of weeks, it's been a little bit crazy. We had a couple pre-recorded episodes, and last week it was just me catching up on our PCS because we PCS this summer as well as what many of you are doing. And then now we get to come back to our regularly scheduled stuff. So I'm really super excited about that. I just want to give a few updates before we get into everything about this year. If you're in the middle of PCSing, make sure you keep the number for your move coordinator and your transportation office on hand so that if you have issues during your pack out, your loading, your delivery, whatever it may be, you have that information where you can easily reach out to those folks to be able to get the answers that you need. Also, just a real quick good news story. Actually, I'll give you two quick good news stories because we always need to hear something good. So here locally where I'm at, one of my neighbors was having their stuff delivered. This is kind of like a half good news story. So we had, my neighbor was having their things delivered, went over, checked in, said hi. Me and her are quickly becoming some good friends, which I'm excited about. Our kids have already became good friends, so that's even better. But as their stuff was being delivered, they found some items on their truck that don't belong to them. Through our Facebook group, PCS Like a Pro, Your Smooth Move, we were able to track down the actual owners of those things that were delivered to them. And we're able to reach out through the TSP and be able to get that coordinated where those items are now going to where they need to be relocated with their other family. So it sucks for the one family that some things got mixed up, but we're able to get it reunited and get it sent back to them. The second one is that some of you might have seen the post go around about a family in Norfolk that had their vehicle and their U-Haul trailer stolen from, I believe it was the Navy lodging area in Norfolk. 36 hours after their vehicle in U-Haul was stolen, it was found down the road. Everything that they were worried about that was in the U-Haul was not opened, was not touched. So all of the things they were concerned about, the baby items, baby books, all of those things, family photo albums and stuff is still intact and still together. So they are now happily reunited with the things that they were moving with them. So it's things we hear about every year, crazy season always happening, but just some good news out there for this PCS season that we so desperately need. So we're going to dive in today because, again, I'm very excited about this. We have my friend Michelle here joining us. So welcome to the show, Michelle. Can you just take a minute and introduce yourself and tell us about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love your show. So I'm Michelle from The Waiting Warriors on Instagram or thewaitingwarriors.com. I'm a military spouse of 10 years. Oh, is it the 13th? Today's our Army-versary. I knew it was coming up, but we're in the middle of a PCS too. You can see all our boxes. Our last pod just showed up yesterday, so our house is in shambles right now. But 10 years. I have 4 daughters here with us and then a little baby boy in heaven, and we just really enjoy this Army life. And over at the Waiting Warriors, I talk a lot about military spouse life, and in the next 6 months going to be focusing a lot on reintegration and helping couples come back together and rebuild their families after deployments and military separations and stuff. So we talk about the real stuff instead of just like they're home. I like to get into the brass tacks and what actually is going on and how we can actually help it instead of like, hey, there's therapy. There's
Yes.
who can actually get their spouse to therapy? I don't know.
Yeah, no, which if you guys don't follow Michelle, you need to go follow her because I absolutely love her content and what she does. And and diving into those details that sometimes we need to. Sometimes I feel like PCS leads us to needing therapy with our spouses too.
Yeah.
I mean, especially those who do Diddy. So we're gonna get in talking about you and your experience. I feel like the Diddy is like a true test of marriage sometimes, because it's like you have an idea of how something should be packed, your spouse has an idea of how something should be packed. Maybe one of you is more on board with doing the Diddy than the other one. It took some convincing, and so the other one is just like, just angrily going through everything, because it's like now you have no choice. Like you can't schedule movers. Like, so I feel like we need some, I don't know, diving into the nitty gritty details of the PCS conflict with spouses to go beyond just go to therapy. I mean, so let's get into this. So first, you did a PPM this move. Why? I know you haven't always done a PPM move, so why did you choose to do a PPM this time?
So we've moved twice in 6 months. My husband just finished a school, so we moved over Christmas break, and then we just moved again. And so part of it was the first move was only 8 hours away, and I had been watching my friend Mallory from what's her Instagram handle?
Diddy Mama.
Yeah, Diddy Mama. Mama's on the Move is her Instagram.
We had her on 2 weeks ago, so if you missed it, we'll get that link dropped.
She's brilliant, and I've been following her for years now, and I was just like, I think we could do it. Like we've done our own moves on the civilian side, so I was like, I think we can do it. The cash would be nice. And because the biggest motivator for us was the last move, the last station was only like 5.5 months. It wasn't even a full 6 months. And then this one's only a year. So if we went without our stuff for a few months, that's a large portion of our time somewhere. And I just had no desire to do that. We were going through so much transition anyways. I wanted it to be as smooth as possible for me and the kids. So really having our stuff was the main motivator. And then watching Mallory, I was like, we can actually do that. So that was the decision process.
Yeah, Mallory is another one that everybody needs to follow. Again, we had her on the show a couple weeks ago, trying to help prepare everybody for doing a PPM and get you, all the information, resources, and stuff you need there. So you decided to do the PPM. How did you then go about preparing to do your PPM?
I used, Mallory has good printouts, and she has a really good packing list. So I just took our calendar and like worked backwards with her calendar, which was really helpful. I used, what else did I use to get set up? I really love Team Box Ops, like moving labels. So I made sure I had that all set up, and I just got like my PCS binder, and I looked at your free stuff, and I was like, okay, what, like, the more organized I could get, like 6 months in advance, I knew I would feel way better, because we've done moves, right? Like, no, like it's just a crazy time. And I know my brain, plus with the 4 kids, like I literally feel like there's like bees buzzing around my head or something sometimes, So it's like, okay, as much as possible that I can have on paper, so I don't have to think. I can wake up in the morning and not be like, what do I have to do today? I just open up the binder and said, okay, Megan said I need to do this for my budget, and Mallory said I need to do this to pack. Then I'm good. Like, then I can just be the workhorse and I don't have to mentally think about anything. I'm really happy. So that was my thought process towards the preparation of like, who out there has already done the work, you know what I mean? Like has had the experience, so I don't have to think and worry, am I making any mistakes? I'm going to use that and have it in one spot in our binder, make sure my spouse knows where it is and what I'm doing. So then he's not asking me questions, because that was a mistake I made the first time. I like didn't tell him that this is what I was doing. Well, he knew I was doing it, but he didn't know where everything was. So this last one, I was a little bit dramatic, and I like slammed down the binder. I was like, okay, this is the Holy Grail. This is what we're working from. This is our budget. This is the packing list. This is all the things that papers we need to keep track of, all that kind of stuff. Everything goes here. If you have a question on what to do today, follow this list. Don't ask me questions. And that worked really well. You're on mute.
Almost had it. So I'm over here. As you were talking, I was grabbing all the links for everything to get them dropped into the comments for everyone. When you answer my next question, I'm going to go grab Mallory's to drop her website down there, so you guys can go see all of her free resources and things there too. But you'll see I've got Michelle's link to her Facebook page for the Waiting Warrior there. Our link to the Google Drive where we have all of our free resources at. I've got the link for Team Box Ops. We had Shay on several weeks ago as well, talking about her system, which we utilized for our most recent move. And so if you are preparing for a move, if you think you're going to be moving next year, she's got her own little Amazon Prime deal going on right now with all of her kits. So to plug her, go check that out as well. But yeah, and as Crystal here says, such great info that you gave us, trying to break down, the resources that you used and how you were able to make the most of it. The PCS binder, if y'all don't know, we are super huge fans of the PCS binder. My husband has learned not to touch the PCS binder, like wherever it's at. He just leaves it because he knows, that's what I handle. If he's got something he thinks should go in it, he'll put it like next to it and then like tell me about it. So he doesn't mess up what I've got going on. But yeah, so in this whole process of everything, you have some children, and we know, moving is hard on its own, but when you have kids, it becomes like another level of difficulty that you've achieved. So how did you help prepare them for the move as well?
Yeah. So just for point of reference, my oldest just turned 9. One is about to turn 8. One turns 6 in 3 days. And then I have a 3-year-old. So they're relatively young. So maybe you would adjust according to age, but they're young, but this is their 6th move for my 9-year-old. And I can't even think about all the other kids. I don't know how many. The 3-year-old, this is her 2nd move. So we've moved a lot. So they know what to expect. Luckily, they're not too attached to any area. It's easier to hype up the fun of it with them. But to help our kids, we really focus on normalizing it by talking about it as much as we can. It really helped this time to do a countdown chain. As like cliche as that sounded, that really helped them, and it helped me, because particularly a almost 6-year-old and a 3-year-old have no concept of time. So we wanted to normalize this idea that we were moving, but then they thought we were moving, like, especially the 3-year-old. She was like, oh, okay, so you're packing boxes. Then every time we get in the car, that means we're moving. So that created some problems. But getting the chain, making the little paper chain every day, we cut it out, and it was that just really helped, of like, this is how far we have to go, this is how close it's getting. Like, it just gave a moment every day where we could reiterate what was going to go on. And it was just like a 2-minute spiel of, we're going to get in the car. And this PCS we just did was from South Carolina all the way to Washington to JBLM. So like, that's literally as far as you can go. Well, maybe like New York to JBLM. But so we were like, okay, we're going to be in the car for a long time. Like, it's not just going to be one day. And that was just a conversation we had every single day. And I think the chain was just a good mechanism to help that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got a couple comments in here. Paulette joining us that she loves the idea about the chain. And Marla joining us as well about normalizing the move, because it is normal for us. We do move so frequently, and that it's not just this. I mean, it is a major life event, but like it's not the end of the world because we're moving. So being able.
The other thing with normalizing, sorry, I realize like for us, when we talk about normalizing, we also are bringing up to our kids that it's normal for it to feel hard. It's not the end of the world, but it is hard. Like it is not fun having all your stuff go in boxes. It is not fun driving in the car for a long time. It's not fun starting a new school all the time. Like it's okay. It can be fun, but it also cannot be. So it's also normalizing and bringing up in those moments of the countdown of like, hey, what are you most excited about? What are you not liking it? And just normalizing the conversation, not just this is what we do, but this is what we talk about and this is how we handle it, instead of just it's an adventure, like, which it is, like play up the adventure, but also give them an opportunity to express the hard parts too.
Yeah, no, definitely those emotions. And we talk about that in our house with our kids too. Like it's okay to feel sad and angry because you have a really good friend across the street and now you have to leave them, and we're going to go someplace else and they're not going to be there. And that is difficult. One of the things I'm thankful for where we're at now. So when we moved to our previous location, it was a non-military location. It was a remote assignment. We were one of like 3 active duty people there. And so them being the new kid in the school, like they were the new kid. Like it was just them. Being back now at a major installation, like the new kid is like there's,
Every
400 new kids, so it's not just them. So for me in my heart, I'm just like, they're not the only one having the first day at a brand new school. Like they, probably half of their bus, because of the neighborhood that we live in off post, I'm like, half of your bus is probably going to be like military kids that just moved into, and so like from my heart, I'm excited about that. But like, I know for them too, saying goodbye to those friends and trying to make new ones, that's just a difficult process for them. And it can be sometimes overwhelming and sometimes sad and angry. And so we talk about like, it's okay to feel those feelings, and try to talk about them. So now that we've talked about, making that decision to do the PPM and the prepping, can you walk us through some of that execution piece of the move? Like, what method did you use for your PPM? Like, did you make your husband drive a Penske truck across town, or did you use a container company? And like, what were your travel days like?
Yeah. So for the first PPM, we did a U-Haul because it was just 7.5 hours, and I actually drove the U-Haul. I am one of 8 kids, so I grew up driving. I learned how to drive a 15-passenger van. That was the car that our family had because that's what fit. So I'm very comfortable driving big cars. My husband's not. So I drove the U-Haul, and we did it that way. And that worked out great because it was a one-day drive. But that we have, we really did not want to do that across country and didn't want to drive really, it was that we didn't want a U-Haul parked in a hotel for 10 days, or however long it took us. So we chose to do, and we knew we weren't going to be able to get into a house right away. So I didn't want to have storage and stuff. So for this one, we did pods. So the way that works is they drop off these like big containers at your house, and then you load it up, and then they drive it for you, and you get like a month of storage. It has been it didn't go as smoothly as I thought it was going to, because we're at JBLM, which is Tacoma, Seattle area, which is very populated and all that kind of stuff. And apparently the pods area for this spot is very busy. It's like one of the busiest in the whole company for pods, which is fine. I was originally told, call 7 days before you want your drop-off date and we'll be able to schedule it, no problem. So I called and they were like, the next drop-off we have is in a month. So I called when did I call? I called the end of June, and it wasn't until August 2nd. I was like, well, that's not going to work because I want my stuff. That's the whole reason I did a PPM.
Right.
And I didn't want to pay the extra month of storage. But so it's taken a lot of phone calls and calling to check if anything was available and all that kind of stuff for earlier. So it did come way sooner. The last one just got here yesterday. So that's a whole month sooner than August 2nd. But all in all, it did work well. I wish I had just known, if we moved to JBLM again, I would just know to call a month in advance versus 7 days, but it worked really well. So we had pods do our stuff. I packed every single box, but we actually hired people to take our boxes and load them in because we were on a 3rd-story apartment. And I'll be honest, I had zero desire. If it's possible to have a negative desire, I have negative desire to carry boxes into a truck or out of a truck. I just did not.
Yeah.
Good workout, but I don't want to do it. I don't know why. It just makes me angry thinking about having to do it. So we decided to hire movers, load up the truck. And then yesterday, because it was so chaotic, I didn't think we were going to be able to hire movers, but sorry, 1 second. My 3-year-old's at the door. So, but yesterday, what I just did is I got on our community Facebook page and our church Facebook page and was like, hey, any teenagers or anybody who wants to help unload a truck, we're going to be doing it from these hours. I'll happily pay $20 an hour. You know what I mean? Because you are getting paid for the day. So I thought it was fair to not just be like, hey, will someone help me? And we did have 2 teenagers show up. So that was way easier. And I had to do way less, which, truth be told, I only moved 10 boxes. And then I was like, yeah, I'm done. I told you I didn't want to, and I don't want to. So
yeah, I
just entertained my children. So that was kind of how we did it. I packed all the boxes, but we did hire people to help. We did the pods, and financially we're still going to make, it was still way worth it to hire the help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you brought up a good point that I don't think a lot of people understand, or again, you didn't know about, was that delay in delivery, especially when you do a container type company. We think it's, the delays that a lot of families are experiencing now through military movers and thinking hey, waiting a couple weeks, it's annoying. You think if you do a container company, do a PPM, you're going to have your stuff, within a couple of days of when you say, hey, come deliver it. And knowing that they're experiencing some of those delays as well, just because of the high volume, I think is something that a lot of us don't really think about when we, talk about doing a PPM in those container companies. Yeah. We did a PPM once many, many years ago, and it was my husband driving the Penske truck across the country. Which is why he is fully against doing PPMs now. And it was also the time where truck stops, the big truck stops, were not a major common thing yet. And so it was trying to find a gas station in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, that could fit this 26-foot Penske truck, so he could get diesel, and hoping that that tiny gas station also had diesel. And so now I'm just there's container companies, it'll be good, honey. You don't have to drive it. And he's just no, we don't need to, we'll handle the people the military hires.
Yeah. I just don't, and so we're moving in a year, which I know it's ridiculous, but we're moving in a year, and we probably will do a PPM again, but I might even like hire the whole thing out. I don't, like you think about a PPM in like one certain way, but really it just means that you're not dealing with a middleman in the military. Is really. So if you want to just be the logistics person and you don't want to do any of the manual labor, that's totally fine too. The different variety of ways that you can do a move, there's a lot more variety versus the military be 100% in control of it and you do every single manual labor thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of middle ground there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Doing the PPM gives you your choice of how you want to do it and how much of it do you want to do. We know Michelle doesn't like carrying boxes. She'll pack them, but she doesn't want to carry them. Other people, like, they don't want to pack stuff, but they'll happily do the loading piece of it. And so it's your ability to choose how do you want to do your move, which, it's nice to be able to have that option. So through this whole process of doing a PPM, moving with your children, what are some lessons that you learned along the way?
So I've been thinking a lot about these, and I did a like reduced post, but the 3 things I've learned just quickly, and then we can talk about each one if you want to. But the first thing is to manage your energy and not your time. Like I mentioned before, we have a son in heaven, and I had a stillborn a year ago, and that really emotionally took its toll. And then we moved however many months later, but it also physically, I have several injuries from that and this whole hormonal issue because, having a stillborn is all sorts of ridiculousness within your body. And that really, so I really had to slow down, which is very frustrating for somebody like me, especially when in the military, like you don't necessarily feel like you have a choice. And so I really just tried to like, okay, I have this amount of time, both with when I'm packing, but also when I was traveling across the country and, like we were somewhere near family for a few weeks while we were waiting for our house. We drove by however many friends, and fun vacation spots and all that kind of stuff. And I just realized when we were planning, like I could do all the things because I had time. There's physically enough hours. But by the time we got here and all the boxes were here, I would be beat. I'd be completely like just burnt out. So instead I focused a lot more on managing my energy and how much, and being very honest with myself. And that meant saying no to more things than like I ever, even not even like, we talk about like saying no to things that like I don't want to volunteer with something, so I'm gonna say no. Like this is stuff I wanted to do. Like I wanted to go to this rodeo thing with my sisters. I wanted to do these things, but I knew I had to manage the energy. So that was very big and helpful and really hard to do. Like this is the first time I've like really done it well, but has made a huge difference. The other thing was that there's no such thing as too many snacks. I don't care who you are, you will eat them eventually, but it makes a huge difference for the kids if it's like, okay, you have to get back in the car, but here is your own bag of Doritos and a push pop, or like I don't even know, like the fruit.
I am traveling in Michelle's vehicle for our next PCS. Like, I mean, if I get snacks for getting in the vehicle, like, please, like, come on.
In my car, you get a present from the dollar store every morning. And on the last few days, because we traveled so far, they did get like, I think they got like 3 presents. the last 2 days. You get a present every time you get in the car in the morning, and then you get a snack and possibly a fun, like a little bit of juice. Like I don't want my kids to dehydrate, but I don't want them to drink and have to go pee all the time. So it was exciting that they just got like that much juice. But I try to make it just fun, and it worked. Like it wasn't super blissful, and every time everybody was like, yes, I'm getting back in the car for hour 45. No, but the 3-year-old threw a temper tantrum on like day 6, which I'm really impressed she lasted that long. But like it was only a 10-minute temper tantrum, and then guess what got her back to reality was like, the snacks. Like there's no, bribes are your friend. Let's just say that. Maybe in parenting in general, maybe you have different philosophies, but when you are PCSing, just go with the bribes.
Yeah. Like every road trip needs to look like you are a 9-year-old given $100 in a candy store.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Like every time.
And then the last thing that I really learned was just to have fun. And if you are having fun, your kids will start having fun. If you are mad about things, your kids will get even more upset about things. So we did things like, and like, I'm not saying, just make it so this naturally comes to you. Like it doesn't naturally come to me. What is the hair? My eyeball. Sorry. It doesn't just naturally come to me. I legit set alarms in my phone for every day. I had one go off so we would like sing songs together. I had just, don't tell anybody. I just typed in my phone. It's not like I had a playlist ready. Like there's no prep involved. I just said, okay, what's your favorite song? And we'll like sing it so loud and dance and just be ridiculously silly for 30 minutes. And we did it for 30 minutes every day. I set a reminder, and it was never like perfectly timed, but just a reminder twice a day went off just to like tell a joke and whatever, like make a silly face at them. Like so half of the times my kids looked at me like, I'm still mad at you, Mom, right? But the other half, they were laughing and being silly with me. And then I didn't have an alarm for it, but I just really tried to remember of every time we got out of the car, I gave everybody a big hug and a big kiss, and I looked them in the eyes and said, I love you, and you're doing a great job. Like, I think that all of those things made a huge difference for me. I was having way more fun, and a huge difference for the kids. Like it was not perfect. We still had temper tantrums. We still had, the 3-year-old had a huge one and was screaming bloody murder. The almost 6-year-old was screaming because she wanted to go inside the gas station and get candy. And I was telling her, no, we're not doing that. 1, she didn't eat her lunch and she needed to finish her lunch. And 2, I had a whole bag of treats. And so this guy came up and he tried to hand me $10. He's like, you can just buy your kids some candy. And I was like,
it's like, thank you, random stranger, for like trying to make the day easier, but also like, you're ruining me trying to parent my child.
I was like, no, like I just kind of like stopped his hand. I was like, no, it's not like I've got plenty of money. It's just I have treats inside and she hasn't eaten her lunch yet. He's like, oh, yeah. Like, yeah. Like we still had those moments, right? But it went, when you think about driving across the country and doing 40 plus hours of driving with 4 kids, I was thinking like one of those every few hours, at least once a day. And it only happened a handful of times for the whole thing. Like that is, to me, that's a huge win. It's not about it going perfect, but what can I do to make it as fun as possible, to keep the love in the family and keep the fun in the family. So,
yeah. And I think that definitely does make a big difference. I think a lot of times we're like, this should be easy. Like, you're going to sit in the car for a few hours. Like, like it'll be fine. Take a nap, read a book, play with your doll again. But, being able to realize that, I mean, riding in the car, especially at a young age, can be difficult and can be hard. And so being able to have those things that can help, break up that boringness can definitely make a huge difference with it. So you say you're there for a year and then you're PCSing again. So will you do a PPM again?
I don't
We should wait and ask you again in about 10 months.
Yeah, ask me in a year. Right now I'm at the phase of like, should I just burn all my stuff? Like that's what I'm feeling right now, because I have to unpack all these boxes and like, should I just burn everything? Just like, we lived off of clothes. I'll save the toys for the kids, but like, so that's where I'm at right now. Honestly, yeah, I probably will do a PPM. I might not pack all the boxes. I might not, it might be a PPM where I just hire everything out. But I love being in the military. I do not like working with the military on certain things, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
No disrespect to anybody. I know that like 90% of people in the military are doing their best, but I don't like working with other people's systems or like bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff. So I'll probably just do a BPM and like be in charge of it, even if I don't lift a finger type thing. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I have my energy back in.
We'll have Michelle on again in 10 months telling us how she just let the military handle it because she was just over it. Stay tuned for that episode.
Yeah. Year from now. Ask me in a year.
Yeah. So something that I like to ask every military spouse that I have on the show is, do you have a favorite or least favorite duty location that you've been at, and why was it your favorite or your least favorite?
So we've only been here like a week or two, but I think JBLM is already one of my favorites. I really like outdoors. It is pretty gray, even like it's July and it's gray outside. But we can still be outside even when it's gray most of the year. And so I like being outside. I really love how green it is. I really like the installation so far. They have 2 libraries and 2 kids sections in the libraries, and they're doing this really awesome summer reading program, which has been great for like PCSing and my kids immediately feeling like they have something to do and something to be a part of has really helped my kids. And I really just love the area. Like the Puget Sound is gorgeous, and I'm probably going to go paddleboarding in like within a week. Like that's just,
Can't wait to see those pictures.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun.
There's just a lot of fun things, and it's like my type of fun. So,
and that makes a big difference too, because you hear sometimes where people really love a location and they say all these things why they love it, and you think, oh, it's going to be super great, and you get there and it's like, this is totally not what I want it to be or what I expected it to be, or it is a great location, but there's nothing here that excites me to want to do things. And so when you end up at those locations where it's like everything that I'm interested in and want to do is available, like it just makes it that much easier.
I was gonna say, like, Target is 15 minutes from my house.
That's like a requirement.
Like that. And Costco, Target and Costco. That's how I feel like you've really made it, at least in the Army. Like, I don't know about the other branches, but like there are some real armpits in the Army, and you are in the middle of nowhere sometimes. But the fact that you are by a Target and a Costco or
Or
20.
Sam's Club, because we've been someplace, we haven't had Costco, but we've had a Sam's Club. And so I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, a Sam's Club
Yeah.
and some locations can make up for the lack of a Costco.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, but having one of those two to be able to, I think, can make a difference. But yeah, definitely a Target is a requirement. I'll never forget when we arrived at our last location. Again, it was a remote assignment. Did not have the military community. I lovingly referred to it as podunk. We have
Yeah.
we have some of my best friends are there, absolutely love them and miss them and everything. But it's like, there's the Target and oh, there's the Hobby Lobby. And it's like, we'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
You know, like it'll be great. Yeah. So the last question I have for you is a piece of advice that you would pass on to other spouses.
Just in general or about PCSing?
Either or, whichever you have.
Yeah. So the two biggest pieces of advice that I've really been like holding on to for myself right now is that you do not have to do this alone. Just because you can do it alone does not mean you have to do it alone. Whether you have people physically close helping you or you are grasping on to the amazing online military community, like there are some amazing people like Megan, and what I'm trying to do on the Waiting Warriors, and just like, you don't have to figure this out by yourself. If a resource doesn't exist, talk to Megan or I, and we will, we probably know somebody who has the resource that you're looking for. And two, we'll create it. Like, you know, we'll either create it on our own or pull in people who have more experience than us, and we'll create it for you, because you just don't have to do it alone anymore. Like, you just really don't. And so, yes, you are a strong military spouse, but you don't have to do it by yourself. The other thing I think is my biggest piece of advice is just like your mentality and approach to things makes a huge difference. If you are expecting things to be one way and then it doesn't, and you're not expecting to have to change and adapt and grow, not even like it's not going to go my way, but just expecting to have to grow through this experience has really helped me, especially with my kids. Like, if I had approached and then we ended up doing like 49 hours of driving. If I had approached that with, this is going to be miserable and super hard, then it would have been 10 times more miserable and hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it like sounds so cliche, but it really does. Like, if you actually say things out loud to yourself that are positive, it really does help a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, perfect piece of advice to kind of end it today with. I think that asking for help, I think is one that we all kind of struggle with. And being able, and I think the resources piece sometimes can feel intimidating, because sometimes it feels like I can't find the resource I need. And then other times it's like, here's 100 resources. And it's like, well, which one of these is the one that I need? And, but that's where people within our spouse community is so great, that when you're able to just get into a group and ask a question, or find somebody that kind of does something along the lines of whatever it is you're looking for, and reaching out to them, that they can help guide you to what it is you need, or where it is you need to go, or who it is you need to talk to. I think it's just a great thing about our community, and just, the knowledge and resources and the power of our spouses within our community is so great with that.
Yeah.
So Michelle, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, joining us early in the morning. I
woke up early just for you guys. Just for you and Megan.
Yes, which is a reason why we love you so much. And as Paulette said it up here, can I find her comment real quick? Yeah, right here from Paulette, another good friend, that Michelle is the best. because she absolutely is. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing some insight about your PPM experience and what you do with the Waiting Warriors. Again, everybody, I dropped links into the comments where you can go and find Michelle and follow her. And then also to all the resources that she talked about when preparing for her PPM. All of those links are there in the comments for you as well. Join us again here next week, same time, same place. We're going to have Sarah Strider on. We're going to be talking about voting and registering to vote, because if you just PCS and it's been a few years, you may be wondering, like, we have a midterm election coming up. Like, where are we supposed to register at? Do I just pick a state? Does it have to be where I live? Can it be a home of record? Sarah's going to break all of that down for us and help us figure that out and get us put together to make sure you are ready for those midterm elections coming up in a couple of months. So join us again next Wednesday, same time, same place. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week. And we hope you have a smooth PCS, and we will see you all then.